Like to open the meeting for the Board of Elections, and our director, Michael Anderson, who we've already given praise, but I want to continue to do that. Not just Michael, but his entire staff and league of volunteers that watching them over the whole course of this election through election day and yesterday, the performance and the job was just outstanding. So we certainly want to thank you for that, Michael.
You're on mute, Michael.
Thank you, Commissioner. Michael Anderson, Chief Clerk Voter Registration. Appreciate those words and second all of the fine people that made that possible. Came together very well. So that was wonderful. So I appreciate you having me on here last minute as we keep going through, as I like to call it, the election that never ends, that may end eventually. So what I'd like to do is talk a little about what the board would like to do as far as our plans for continuing to canvass and count and computate ballots. I just wanted to update you on a few numbers that we were able to get this morning that I did not have yesterday. Just so everybody's aware, I know the board is, we do have all ballots counted that have been received via the mail. So absentee mail-in ballots that were received as of 8 p.m. on election day have been counted, are in our totals. And of course, all election day votes are also in the results, unofficial results that we have for Lebanon County. So outstanding work by all of our poll workers here and at all of our 60 precincts to make that happen. What we have outstanding, I guess, is what a lot of people like to know right now. So right now we have about 300, just under 300 ballots that need to be counted from the military and overseas voters. We have roughly, and I apologize because the number I may have given you is severely off, but we have roughly 1,500 provisional ballots that we need to address. So that was far higher than I was under the impression of yesterday. So I apologize for that. The big number I think a lot of people also want to know is how many ballots did we receive that were postmarked by November 3rd that were received in my office as of yesterday. And that number was 46 ballots. So far fewer number than we anticipated, which is actually good news. We have not gotten the mail today yet to be able to tell you any more on that. I did read the guidance from the Department of State on what to do with the ballots that were returned to us with the postmark of November 3rd or previous, but received after 8 p.m. And their guidance at this point is to hold them. Do not free canvass, or count them, just to hold them, keep them segregated. So that was the main reason why I wanted to talk to the board, is because I didn't get a chance to read this until this morning. But that is their guidance on those ballots. I recommend that we adhere by that and just hold those, count them, segregate them. They want us to do a little bit of extra work as far as how they come in, when they come in, and we'll take care of all that on our end. But I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. And I don't know if that's something you want to vote on to officially approve my recommendation and their recommendation to hold those at this point until we get further guidance. But that is what I think we should do with those ballots.
If we could, I would like a motion from one of the members of the board to adhere to the Secretary of State's recommendation on handling those ballots. That puts us
Question
on
first,
record.
please, so I can understand the vote.
Sure.
Are we voting on the 46 ballots that came in yesterday after November 3rd, but postmarked by November 3rd? And then anything that comes in as well today and tomorrow, or just yesterday?
No, I think anything that will come in through the duration through Friday.
So 46 plus whatever comes in today and tomorrow. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that whole segregation of ballots is what I'm asking.
Okay.
My recommendation is to heed by what he had said, the Secretary of State's plan, to just keep those segregated. Do not canvass, pre-canvass, or count those ballots until we get further
So
instruction
don't
from the
touch them at
department.
all. Okay.
Yep.
Now I totally understand. I wanted to make sure I wasn't confused. I want to make a motion to hold untouched the ballots that come in November 4th, 5th, and 6th as proposed by our voter registrar, Michael Anderson, and also recommended by the Department of State Secretary, Catherine Booklar.
Do I have a second?
Well, I'll make a second with a comment or a question
Sure.
that may, direct me to my vote. But I understand that there's a suit now filed asking us to hold those, and which is what we're doing, but we're not doing it as a result of that suit, but more so as a result of the direction from the Department of State. My question is, this may not be the last word on this. We would follow whatever the outcome of that suit is that I would ask our solicitor, is that in line with the proper thinking?
Yeah, I believe we'll continue to follow the guidance of the Department of State in part, and then obviously any court orders that are issued. And those court orders, may go through various state and or federal, the whole way up to the U.S. Supreme Court. So that might take some period of time, but yes,
Okay.
for this time, we'll just kind of wait and stay and follow any court orders that may be issued in the future.
All right, very good. Under those guidelines, understanding, I'll second the motion, and you may proceed.
Commissioner,
All right.
can I actually add one thing that I just
Sure.
thought of? So I don't want to pre-canvass, I don't want to count, but one of the things I would like to be able to do, if the board gives me permission, is to be able, so with the 1,500 provisional ballots we have, it's very possible that we have a provisional ballot that's affected because somebody didn't think their vote was going to get here on time. And that vote could be one of those that comes in during this period of time. I would just like permission to be able to at least look at those ballots to see if we can match at all, not move them, touch them, put them together, but at least be able to say, look to see if any of those ballots are affected by any provisionals that we have. So that way we're not holding up our provisional ballot process, because right now all we're doing is holding all of those ballots that have been issued by a provisional that says that they never received their mail, because I have to wait until all mail ballots are processed. I can't process them, but I could at least see the names and maybe move from there. Does that?
So Michael, I have a question before I amend my motion then.
Yep.
If there is a provisional ballot and the name and address on that matches one on one of the ones that came in the mail after November 3rd, which one would we be counting eventually in full? Would we automatically go to the provisional and accept that and then void the one that came in the mail late?
The process has always been the mail-in is always taken over a provisional. That's always how it's been. So, but I think that will be something that we'll all have to discuss, and maybe Dave will have to be involved in that as well, of what we want to do. But at this point, I don't need that decision to be made. I just need to be able to identify them. And I don't want to break any rules by looking through these ballots. If the board's saying just collect them, put them in a safe location and don't canvass them. I'm just trying to think of how we can process these 1,500 provisional ballots faster so we can allow people to know if their votes are going to count or not. Because all we would do is, if we have a provisional that matches something that came in the mail, we would just put that off to the side. But if we don't have a match, we know that it's something that we can research to be able to start getting ready to present to you next week.
Okay, so your proposal is to put aside anything that matches the names.
Just so we can, my proposal is can I at least look at them to be able to match, to hold it off?
But I'm trying to figure out, the provisional ballot will be not opened if we see that there is one that came in the mail.
Provisional ballots are never opened unless they're part of a board meeting. So that's all stuff we'll do next week. We're just talking about what our process is here. And I just don't want and maybe this is more of a question for Dave, if he wants to chime in here, but I want to be able to look at them to see what comes in, to see if I have a match. And if I do, then I know I can continue to process others where I don't have a match. Does that make sense?
I have a question, if I could. Could you define look at them? Because are you talking about just basing on if there's a return address on the envelope? Because, well, again, we're all deferring to Dave here, but if you are talking about looking at them by opening them and seeing.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. That should be very specific. When I say look at it, just looking at the envelope, seeing the name, looking at the provisional ballots, seeing the same name, putting that off to the side so we know when we're ready to present them to you, we know we have 2 here, and then the board later can make a determination of what we're going to do. But that helps us in processing all 1,500. Otherwise, if I can't go through them, I'm going to have to pull every provisional ballot that has to do with mail and not being received off to the side until I get a chance to look at those ballots separately.
I think the question for Dave might be, does that process constitute pre-canvassing
Yes.
under this,
Yeah,
state defined it?
I'm not comfortable amending my second.
Okay.
I mean, unless Dave, but I'd rather we don't touch them.
Yeah, I understand the practical nature of what Mike is suggesting, and I would say under normal circumstances that's what I would do as well. But just given the nature of litigation here,
I agree.
even though it's going to potentially sound like cause us more work basically and more time later if court decisions are made in various ways, I think that's what we have to do at this time is just follow the motion that was already made effectively.
Okay, and then later on, wait for further guidance or see how things play out before we act on them. So the motion stands to essentially to direct Michael to follow the Secretary of State's guidelines in handling these.
And that's
late arrival.
and that's to only process ballots hold the ballots that were received November 4, 5, and 6.
Right, they're not to be processed at all. Just hold. Secure and hold. All right. Is the motion clear?
Second that. Yep.
All right. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye.
Did you want to have questions from the press? There's 2 press questions before we vote in case they impact the outcome of the vote. Laura LeBeau and Hal from the Daily News.
I suppose. I don't know how.
We voted.
A question. I thought we voted. A question from the press. A question from the press is never going to change my mind on how I vote.
Well, that's not what you said the other week.
Okay. All right. I'll entertain questions.
Hi, this is Laura. Michael, you said there are 300 overseas and military ballots. There's a later deadline for those to be received, and those can be opened and counted, toward the various different elections, correct?
Correct. And actually, I have after this gets resolved, I have a plan or a request on those, Laura. So stay tuned.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Hal is the other one.
Is it relevant to this motion?
Yes, it is. So just to clarify, just to make absolutely sure, what you want to do, Michael, is that you would like to look at the provisional ballots, and then you would like to look at the addresses on these particular mail ballots, which were received when exactly? And then and this would obviously not be considered a final count. This would just be more of considered because there could be ballots with mislabeled addresses or something like that. I'm not sure if that would count as an official vote, kind of.
Right. So the decision was that we will not pre-canvass or canvass or basically look at those that are coming in from yesterday, today, or tomorrow that have a postmarked November 3rd or earlier, or no postmark at all. Those are just being held, and we're not going to look at them at all. As far as my original request was, can we somehow look at them to help in another process, and that we are not going to do that. So
Okay. That's
they're just being held.
And for sake of clarification, since the postmark was mentioned, most of these ballots have no postmark because they were prepaid postage. So, but we have been directed by the court, I think, if and when at the time we consider these, to consider all of them. So.
And I will, not to disagree with you, but I can tell you that the post offices are marking those. They have been very diligent. I've talked to probably 4 different postmasters that they are stamping them when they process them.
Yeah. Okay.
Even though they technically did not have to, because like you said, postage is paid.
All right. I guess we didn't really vote because I guess Commissioner Litz didn't vote because she was
Correct.
talking. So all those in favor of the motion as stated indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Michael, do you have anything else?
Yes, so I do have a plan. So we'll see how you feel about this. But so one of the things that we can do, if you would like, and this is my recommendation, is we could address the military and overseas ballots sooner. We would not have to necessarily wait to next week at our computation meeting. We could address those as early as tomorrow if the board's available. And basically what that means is we would, similar to what we did in the primary, is open those ballots and recreate them so that they can be scanned. So as you recall, we used the ballot marking device. My staff went through them, made the ballot into a scannable ballot, and then we presented both ballots to the board to approve. If they approved, then we scanned them. So one of the things that I am requesting is that we could help save time by possibly doing some of that work tomorrow. Since we have the room available, we have the scanners available, we have the opener available, if the board so chooses. If not, we can wait and do all of that as part of our computation meeting. But keeping in mind, we have 1,500 provisional ballots to go through, and we also have all of the other activities, write-ins, things like that, that we need to do at that meeting next week. So just something that I thought if the board wanted to, we could, and then also obviously get those votes out. And any military, as Laura had said, any military or overseas ballot that gets here by close of business on Tuesday, November 10th, would still be addressed then at that computation meeting, which at this point looks like it's going to be Thursday, November 12th.
Okay. Well, I'm in favor of doing it tomorrow, but I'll leave it up to my colleagues. What are your thoughts?
Would Michael work with our schedules? Because I didn't know you were going to propose this and I don't know my schedule for tomorrow. Could you be flexible in the hours if we all check our schedules after the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to do it at like 9 in the morning if possible, but I guess when the board is available, and we can kind of go from there.
Commissioner Phillips, your availability?
Absolutely, but I did have a question. Is there anything else that we could be doing in terms of process with the provisionals? I mean, if we're going to be in tomorrow for the 300, is there anything that we can do to get a head start?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we could be open to any ones that we can process today and have prepared for you tomorrow. We can absolutely look at those as well. I mean, it won't be all of them, but we could put a dent in them if the board's willing to do that. I think that would be, yeah. And then we could also process those as well while we're there.
Well, 9 o'clock works for me, and Commissioner Litz wants to reach out to you and let you know whether that works for her.
There's a hand raised too, a Matu. I don't know who it is.
Are we understanding about the meeting at 9 a.m.? Let's resolve that first.
I would like to have a meeting tomorrow. I just want to have the courtesy of checking my schedule since I didn't know about it.
That's what Commissioner Ames was saying, and I didn't know if you heard that with the comment about the hand
Yeah.
raise. So, okay.
All right, we'll take the raised hand.
Hello, thank you. It's Matthew Urban. I had a question regarding the unprocessable ballots that Michael mentioned. When they are counted, how are they added to the tabulation total? Are they added to the precinct total, or is there a separate total? Like, are you keeping track of where they came from?
I apologize. I'm not understanding the first part of your question. What ballots are we referring to?
The ones that were not processable, the scanner couldn't read them because of a defect in the ballot.
Oh, and so, okay, I'm understanding the ballots. Now, what is the question again? I apologize.
So when they are tabulated, are they going to be added from the precinct they came from, or are they be tabulated in a separate column?
They will be tabulated into the precinct that they come from.
Thank you.
Yes. And so, and we can, that's actually something we also could address tomorrow, is we have about, I think, 15 to 20 ballots that could not scan, which is amazing considering we did 22,000 plus ballots in the last 2 days. I think we had 15, 20 that couldn't scan. So we can address those as well at that meeting tomorrow. The only thing I would suggest, Commissioner, is that if we would probably need to somehow in this meeting announce when the next one is. And then if it does not work, I guess we would have to somehow then still convene, like say at 9 tomorrow, and then change the time, just because I think we need to have that as a public forum when we're going to meet next to continue computation. Unless, Jimmy, you have something
I
different
agree
on
with that. As Commissioner Phillips and I can make it at 9, we can convene then. If we have to change the time to suit Commissioner Litz's schedule, we can announce it at that time. But I think it's agreed that the meeting will occur tomorrow. Does that work?
Works for me.
Okay. So with that said, the Board of Elections will convene tomorrow. That's November the 5th at 9 a.m. In room 306, is it?
That is correct.
And hopefully we'll have our meeting at that time if all 3 members of the board are present. If Commissioner Litz is unable to do it at 9, we will announce the time. Obviously, it will be later in the day at that time.
May I just ask though, how many people are we disrupting if they show up? Michael, are you going to have a team there, or what was your thought?
Yeah, so mostly going to be my staff. We're reaching out to a few people after this meeting just to see if they're kind of had the availability of the day. You know,
It would really be nice to resolve it right now.
Sooner than later would be nice, yes.
Because of the public's being on board here with the meeting. Is James, or excuse me, Bill, may I just ask another question?
Sure, absolutely.
Is your calendar handy that you could just take a look and come back to us right now, or?
It is not.
Okay. All right.
Well, hopefully we'll be able to have the meeting at 9 rather than inconvenience Michael and all of his volunteers and employees.
I just respectfully ask that if we are going to set up any more meetings, to ask the commissioners before the meeting. That way we can check our schedules.
I would love to be able to accommodate that. Going with the flow here is all I can tell you. Sometimes that's all we can do.
And it's the meeting, according to Laura, is November 6th. Today is the 5th.
All right, I stand corrected on that. That's true. Today is the 5th. So it is November 6th. So for clarification, the Board of Elections will convene at 9 a.m. Friday, November the 6th.
Which is tomorrow, right, Bill?
Which is tomorrow, yes. And I did have the date wrong. I'm sorry.
May I just ask, are you finished with your presentation, Michael?
I am finished. Thank you.
Commissioner Ames, I have another question.
Sure.
Review the computation schedule, just for the folks that are on, make sure we're all on the same page on that for next week.
I'm sorry, are you talking to me or the commissioner?
I'm talking to you, Mike.
You,
Okay,
Michael.
I want to make sure.
You're
Okay,
the
so
one
at this,
that will determine that.
sorry. So at this point, I have that we're going to meet tomorrow, November 6th at 9 a.m. in room 306. And then the next meeting that we can talk about when we're in the meeting tomorrow, but I'm looking at is we have to have our official computation meeting, which is where we go through all the results and such in the provisional ballots. I'm looking at Thursday, November 12th, possibly also at 9 a.m. in room 306, to try to get us to a conclusion. But that all depends, obviously, on what we're able and not able to do with those ballots. But at least we can continue our process from there.
Thank you. I just want to clarify that.
Yep. And one more thing, if you don't mind, we're getting a lot of calls and questions about people wanting to know why the statewide system is not showing that their vote was counted. They voted on election day. Their vote has indeed counted. The system is not going to show that their vote is counted until we process all of our poll books. That is one of the last things that we do and when we do our reconciliation at the end. So just throwing that out there for people. If you voted in person, your vote absolutely did count. If you're checking the website to show that your vote counted as far as we processed that you voted that day, that will occur probably getting closer to the end of the month by the time that's going to happen, because there's a lot of different things that need to happen first with that. So I did want to let people know that. One of the big questions we're getting today. Never
Yeah,
had
I've been
that question
getting that
before.
question too. Thank you for addressing that.
I never had that one before. That was very interesting.
Yeah, people are on the ball. They're really engaged.
Yeah, so mainly that site is being used for people to track their mail-in ballots that we had received it. But obviously it can be used for people voting in person. But that update, obviously we have paper poll books. We have to go through all of those manually. That takes a while. So later.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Ames, there
Yes.
is Dan Sedelnik that has a question.
Okay. Go ahead, Dan.
You have to unmute Dan.
Thank you. This has been very informative. I'm just curious, and maybe you can't disclose this at this point, but besides the unscannable ballots to be recreated, do you have a number for the number of what they call naked ballots that were received that are put aside at this point? Or is that something that has to be discussed later?
I don't have a number. If the board would like, though, we can count those today and have that ready for tomorrow.
It's fine.
Yeah, I'm more than idly curious because we talked about it back on the 26th of October, and I'd like to know what the impact would be if they were clothed properly or cured. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. Anything else? Anyone? All right, seeing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
His hand is back up. Mr.
Who?
Sedell has his hand back up.
Oh. Okay.
It's gone.
Oh, he's gone. Okay.
He was waving goodbye.
Bye, Dan.
All right. With that said, we're adjourned. We'll reconvene tomorrow at 9 to see where we go from there.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.